Good morning, everybody. You're watching our mid-morning edition of Arirang News on this Tuesday, August 11th, coming to you live from our studio in Seoul. I'm Shin Min. And before we get to the details, these are the stories we're following at the top of the hour. Heading towards the longest monsoon season in the history of Korea, heavy rains continue to pound flood-stricken South Korea as it reels from the damage and fatalities. U.S. President Donald Trump postpones the G7 summit until after the presidential election in November, adding that invitations to leaders have not yet been sent. South Korea's president had said he would willingly accept the offer to join this year's G7 meeting. Lebanon's entire government steps down in the wake of the Beirut blast that killed over 160 people and left thousands more wounded. Violent protests erupted on the streets of the Lebanese capital as the blast deepens the country's political crisis. We start this Tuesday morning with the unusually wet weather we are continuing to endure here in South Korea. Now, this year's rainy season has now entered its 49th day in a row, a record for the country, and the showers aren't showing any sign of stopping at any moment now. As of Tuesday morning, a heavy rain warning was issued for the capital of Seoul and the surrounding regions here in the country. And we go live to our Choi Won-jung, who is standing by at the Han River Flood Control Office in Seoul. Won-jung, tell us more.
Well, morning, Salmon. I've been standing by at the Han River Flood Control Office since 6 a.m. and I gotta say, it has been a really hectic morning as the capital region and the surrounding central region has remained under heavy rain warning. According to the officials I spoke to this morning, they're monitoring the Imjin River and the Pilsung Bridge very closely, adding Paltang Dam to the list for extra caution. Speaking of Paltang Dam, 10 of the dam's discharge gates have been opened to release all the backed water. Due to this, as of 8:10 a.m., the current water level of the Han River has increased to nearly 8 meters, which is much higher than usual. In addition, just outside this building, we can see the Olympic Expressway. As you might expect, there was major traffic congestion during this morning rush hour. Some of the busiest roads in Seoul, like Dongbu and the Olympic Expressways, are still partially blocked up. I will bring you more updates at noon. Back to you.
Thank you. That was our Choi Won-jung from Han River Flood Control Office. Now, the condition isn't much different up in the northern part of the peninsula. North Korea appears to have witnessed more rainfall this month, more than in 2007 when it was devastated by its worst ever flooding. Now, that is according to Seoul's Unification Ministry, which explained during a regular press briefing on Monday that the north is probably facing problems in controlling the water flow following the heavy rainfall. Now, during the first week of August, the North Korean city of Kaesong received double the average precipitation level for the month of August. While the north is vulnerable to natural disasters due to its lack of infrastructure, the regime has yet to disclose the exact scope of damage inflicted by the downpours. The number of people in South Korea who have had to move to temporary shelters due to extreme flooding has risen to several thousands. And due to lingering fears of COVID-19, the centers are carrying out virus prevention measures to keep people safe. Our Lee Kyung-in with more.
The school gym is one of several temporary shelters in the central city of Ansong. Last week, some 90 people had to move here due to extreme flooding and landslides. With lingering fears of a COVID-19 outbreak, a set of virus prevention rules are in place, like checking temperatures and keeping 1 meter distance between tents. However, not all of the rules are being adhered to. That's partly due to the physical limitations of the center, like the public shower booths and broken ventilation systems. But it's also hard to get active cooperation from people who are already dealing with a horrific situation.
Honestly, I'm more concerned about the flooding than COVID-19 because that's what I'm dealing with right now.
Most people here have forgotten about the outbreak. Some are not wearing face masks. The problem is that we have all ages here, including those in their 40s to 70s.
There isn't much quarantine managers can do at the moment.
We instruct people to wear masks and sanitize their hands every day. But because they're already in shock, we can't pressure them that much.
As of Monday, some 7,000 people across South Korea are living in these kind of shelters. And it is not that different in other shelters in the city where there are a lot of elderly people. Lee Kyung-eun, Arirang News.
U.S. President Donald Trump has again postponed a G7 meeting due to COVID-19, saying he hopes to host it after the presidential election in November. Now, this is him earlier during a press briefing at the White House.
I'm much more inclined to do it sometime after the election. We were going to do it in September. They'd like to do it. We could do it through teleconference or we could do it through a meeting.
President Trump added that invitations have not yet been sent out, but he hopes to invite his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin. Trump had previously shown an interest in expanding the list of invitees to include South Korea, Australia, Russia, and India. And some G7 countries lodged complaints against the inclusion of Russia, which was suspended from the G8 following Moscow's annexation of Crimea back in 2014. The summit, which President Trump originally planned to hold in June, had been postponed until September. Now, staying in Washington, U.S. President Donald Trump was led out of his briefing room during a press conference on Monday after shots were fired outside the White House. When he returned minutes after, the president confirmed that there was a shooting that was now, quote, very well under control. According to a tweet by the U.S. Secret Service, the shooting took place at 17th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue, just blocks away from the White House. It also added that a male subject and a Secret Service officer were taken to hospital. Hundreds of rioters and looters ransacked downtown Chicago early on Monday local time, smashing store windows, stealing goods, and clashing with police officers. Our Kim Jae-hee explains why.
Rioting and looting erupted along one of Chicago's most visited tourist attractions, the Magnificent Mile shopping district and other parts of the city's downtown. Hundreds of people smashed windows, stole from stores, and even exchanged gunfire with the police early on Monday. Chicago police said social media posts encouraged looters to gather in the business district. They added the post appeared to have been prompted by an incident that happened hours earlier in which police officers shot a man who fired at the police. The man was recovering at a hospital, but false rumors had spread that he was dead.
Tempers flared. Fueled by misinformation, 400 officers were dispatched to our downtown. Chicago police have made more than 100 arrests for looting, disorderly conduct, battery against police, among other charges.
He also added at least 13 officers were injured. The mayor of Chicago called the incident criminal conduct and said the city has activated a neighborhood protection program.
But regardless, what occurred in our downtown and surrounding communities was abject criminal behavior, pure and simple. This was straight up felony criminal conduct.
But she said she remained opposed to calling the Illinois National Guard into Chicago. City residents who woke up in shock on Monday morning expressed fears of violence.
It's ridiculous. It's impossible to live around here now.
Access to downtown Chicago will be temporarily restricted between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. Kim Jae-hee, Arirang News.
U.S. biotech company Gilead Sciences has applied for full approval from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration for its COVID-19 treatment Remdesivir. Gilead also said on Monday that it will sell the drug under the brand name Evacuee in the American market. Remdesivir has been used to shorten the recovery time of severely ill COVID-19 patients after it was granted a temporary authorization by the FDA back in May. The drug has already been approved for use in the EU, Australia, and Japan. In Hong Kong, a well-known media tycoon who is an outspoken supporter of Hong Kong's pro-democracy movement has been arrested under China's newly imposed national security law. Our Kim Hyo-sun explains.
Hong Kong police have arrested the island's media tycoon Jimmy Lai, who is known for his support of Hong Kong's pro-democracy movement and criticism of mainland China. He was arrested Monday on suspicions of, quote, colluding with foreign forces.
We have to focus on the two offenses, allegation. The first one is the offense under the national security law, namely the colluding with the foreign power. And the other one is a conspiracy to default, involving some cheating behavior of having a lower rent for the factories or that sort of thing. That's all about the individual behaviors, nothing about the company itself.
Such an offense was created by the new controversial national security law that was imposed in Hong Kong by China last month. The new law criminalizes any act of secession, subversion, terrorism, and collusion with foreign or external forces, which could carry a maximum penalty of life imprisonment. Over 100 officers reportedly raided the Apple Daily newspaper, arresting Lai along with his sons and other senior executives at the firm. Local media outlets also reported that a handful of others, including pro-democracy activist Agnes Chow, was also arrested on Monday. Chow was a co-leader of Demosisto, a political party that stemmed from the 2014 pro-democracy umbrella movement. The party, however, was disbanded just hours after the passing of the new National Security Act. Following the news, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said he was, quote, deeply troubled by the arrests. The European Union also denounced the arrests, accusing Beijing of utilizing the new act to crack down on media freedom in Hong Kong. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
Every single member of Lebanon's government, including the prime minister, have stepped down over last week's devastating blast at the port in the capital of Beirut. Now, this comes as anti-government protests have been rocking the city, with security forces firing tear gas at protesters. Our Lee Seung-jae with more.
On Sunday, a number of Lebanese ministers stepped down, taking responsibility for the deadly explosion in Beirut, which killed over 150 people, left many more injured, and countless families homeless. Come Monday, Prime Minister Hassan Diab announced his resignation following a meeting where the entirety of the nation's ministers expressed their desire to step down as well. It was a decision Lebanese President Michel Aoun accepted.
President thanks Prime Minister and the ministers and asked them to continue taking care of business. Meanwhile, a new government is formed.
The now former prime minister, who was appointed in January after months of deadlock, insisted his government had gone to great lengths to lay out a roadmap to save the country. However, according to Diab, corruption in the nation is bigger than the state itself and was what prevented change. With the mass resignation, the nation's parliament will have to decide on a new prime minister, which many say will unlikely to be a smooth or quick process due to Lebanon's complex political system. The current political system mandates that the presidency must go to a Christian, the prime minister a Sunni Muslim, and the speaker of the parliament must be a Shiite Muslim. It's a system many have blamed for the country's political instability and division, which is why protesters are continuing to take to the streets despite the complete disintegration of the widely detested government. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Good morning. Thick rain clouds that developed on the west coast were dropping heavy rain on the central parts of the country. In fact, Seoul's Seongdong-gu district has received nearly 200 millimeters since Monday. Well, the rain is tapering off for now, but Chungcheongdo and its surrounding areas could see up to 150 millimeters throughout the day today. So heavy rain alerts are in place across much of the country, while it looks to be another blistering day for eastern regions, with a heat wave warning being in place for Daegu and parts of Gangwon-do province. So Daegu will see a high of 34 degrees Celsius this afternoon, while the rest of us will see the highs hovering at 30 degrees this afternoon. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
that is our time at this hour on Arirang News. But more news lineup coming up at noon Korea, so do stick around. Thanks for watching and goodbye for now.